Hello and welcome to the Network and Application Protection on AWS session. My name is Justin Kurpius. I'm a worldwide GTM specialist focusing on our edge security services. And in this session, we're going to stick to four main pillars. The first one being just covering the themes and what we're seeing in the application protection space. And then secondly, we'll go into three services that we provide for our customers to help them protect their applications. And then third, we're going to get into four deployment models that our customers use when subscribing to these three services. And then finally, we'll close it out with a use case that one of our customers experienced while using these services. So let's go ahead and jump in. I'll start it with the themes that we're seeing. And so the point here is what I'd like everybody to take away from this session is how the services that we're going to talk about help our customers to be more agile. And if I look at from everything that I've heard over the last few years and a lot of the conversations that we've had with customers, definitely after what we experienced in 2020, there were some reoccurring themes that came up often. And if I had to high level the themes, I would call it secure agility. But the next level down are the five call outs here on this slide. And if you think about what this means for application creation and protection, it goes hand in hand. So what we find out is a lot of the conversations our customers are having around building applications in the cloud or anything around their business, which is tied to applications in the cloud, these are some of the main pillars that come up. So from an application perspective, when an application is needed for the business, typically the team has to move fast. And they have to move fast with building the application. And typically that application will have to be internet facing. So the security is involved there, and security is very important. And we have to reduce friction to increase that speed. And as we all know, and most know on this call, security has always been or tends to be creating friction, right? To be secure, we have to check we have a lot of checks and balances. So how can we increase that, and how can we reduce friction to increase speed to market? And then the more we can do that for our customers, we can really help them focus on innovation rather than having to worry about having a lot of friction and having a lot of complexity in setting up and building applications in the cloud, and then, of course, slowing down speed to market. And while we're doing this in both building and launching applications, the experience has to be, experience is paramount, it has to be very good for both the users that are using this application and your internal, whether it's your dev teams or the teams that are building these applications. The experience has to be very good. And then if it wasn't hard enough, flexibility is very important. And there's a lot of unknowns when building a new application, whether it's for a new section of the business. And the question is, how many people are going to use the app? What are the resources that are needed? There's a lot of unknown there. So our customers need flexibility with all of the services that they're deploying as part of building the application. And that's something where maybe they thought it was going to be a certain amount of bandwidth and it was a success and they need a lot more resources, or maybe they need less resources. So they have to be able to toggle up and down the resources that they use for building their applications. So I wanted to start here because as I go through this presentation, I'll probably go back to some of these pillars as I'm introducing the three services that help enable agility in your business when building applications. So after building the application, or even during building the application, you do have to take into consideration common security risks, which becomes very important, especially if these applications are internet facing. So there's three main pillars that we help prevent against within edge security. And I'll start with the first one, which is denial of service, or what's most known as DDoS events or attacks. We've seen a lot of this in the last year, and it started last fall, where we saw a flavor of ransomware DDoS attacks where these attackers would tell customers, hey, we're going to take down your website in 7 days. So you have 7 days to give us X amount of Bitcoin. So, and there were different iterations of that, and then just other just normal DDoS attacks. So that's been, our customers have been experiencing that, and they need to prevent against that. And as applications are put in the cloud, we need to ensure that they can handle the scale needed to thwart these scale volumetric attacks. Also, as we build applications, we have to make sure that the applications are following the best practices and are not open to some of the common app vulnerabilities that some of these bad actors exploit on a day-to-day basis. So we do have, and we'll discuss in more detail, we have our WAF to help against that. And then finally, bots have been top, some of the top requests from customers as of lately. You know, bots tend to be a lot of traffic in any customer's environment. And it gets kind of trickier because some bots are needed in some people's environments, good bots, some of the scrapers and different things. But there are some bad bots. So there has to be delineation there. But it is a problem for our customers as it eats up bandwidth and as they cause problems for our, in our customers' environments and their applications. So with that said, how do we help our customers scale security for applications and help protect against some of these common threats at the edge? Well, these are the three services that we're going to cover today. And I'll start with the one in the middle, which is Shield Advanced. And this is our premium service that we advise for customers that have mission critical applications or resources that cannot have downtime and are very important. So Shield Advanced, I start with it and we put it in the middle because it does include our WAF and Firewall Manager within the package, because it's very important as to how Shield Advanced works from layers 3 through layer 7 and being able to deploy it at scale. And we'll go into some more detail on that. We also have AWS WAF, which is our layer 7 web application firewall that helps prevent some of the common exploits at layer 7, which we'll talk about in a little more detail. And then finally, we're going to talk in detail about AWS Firewall Manager, which is very important to really scaling and going back to some of the key themes, helping our customers scale, helping them have control and visibility into how they protect their applications in the cloud. So we'll start there. And I always start with Firewall Manager because typically, no matter where the conversation starts, whether it's with it could be a customer that experienced a DDoS event. It could be a customer that now has to comply with a mandate. Maybe it's PCI that needs WAF. But wherever we start, I always start with Firewall Manager because Firewall Manager is the service that manages these services centrally. And so it's very important when you're looking to scale and you're looking to have that added agility across regions and across the globe. Firewall Manager can help your security team centrally manage the policy. So build it once and deploy it everywhere with WAF, which we'll cover in more detail, with our Shield Advanced. Again, we'll cover that in more detail. But there are other services that really helps our customers really expand how they manage and build their policy centrally, like Amazon VPC security groups. We've recently launched our AWS Network Firewall, which is also managed by Firewall Manager. And a very new launch, which is not on this pillar, is our AWS DNS Firewall, which is managed centrally. So Firewall Manager becomes the glue. It becomes very important for our customers that want to scale. And so another big piece of Firewall Manager is not just the ability to build it once, apply it everywhere, but also just giving that visibility and the comfort to say, let's have the security team or allow the security team to set a guideline or guardrail centrally that says, at minimum, these are the policies that should be deployed, so that anytime any application is built within that region or within your cloud environment, will automatically apply these policies. And if for whatever reason a policy or a resource is built and does not have those policies, we can automatically remediate that and make sure at a minimum those policies are applied. Or if you don't want to go that route, we can alert when we see that. So then the security team can reach out to the dev team or whoever and tell them, hey, there's a resource up and we don't have WAF applied or whatever it might be. So there's a lot of time savings there to give that central visibility and enforcement, but also giving flexibility and going back to one of the key themes, which is giving a better environment for your dev team. So the security team can start with some central guardrail policies, and then you can allow your dev teams or the different lines of businesses to add any additional policies on top of the baseline that may be specific to the applications that they're building. And I will also mention that a lot of the times we get pulled into conversations of complying with PCI, HIPAA, CIS. So Firewall Manager is integrated with AWS Security Hub. So I'm sure there's a few sessions or one session at least on Security Hub either within the summit. So I advise to check it out. The Firewall Manager is integrated, feeds into Security Hub, and can help with compliance with HIPAA, CIS, PCI, to name a few. So once you, let's say you're looking to scale, you set up Firewall Manager, fairly simple to set up. Now you can deploy essentially two services that we're going to talk about. I'll start with Shield Advanced. So Shield Advanced is our premium service that helps protect against the volumetric style of events and attacks. And going back to the key theme, seamless integration with common resources that you will use as you build resources and applications in our cloud. So it has seamless integration with CloudFront, Elastic Load Balancing, our Elastic Load Balancers, Global Accelerator, and our Elastic IP. So depending on how you're building your infrastructure, there's a lot of flexibility there, and we'll go into some of that in more detail. It's seamless integration. And we get a lot of questions around what does Shield Advanced bring to the table? What are the benefits? So Shield Advanced, again, for a premium service for applications that cannot have downtime, that are mission critical. First, it sets a baseline of providing a deeper inspection and a deeper security protection of volumetric traffic going into or going into your cloud. So it starts right there, and that's the difference between Shield Advanced and Shield Standard. One of the main differences, but some of the detail of that is when our customers buy Shield Advanced, they get 24/7 support by our Shield response team. And that is really gives our customers someone to lean on if there is a volumetric attack that for some reason is still preventing challenges for an application or a mission critical resource. They can lean on our team to help them through the problem, help them develop a fix for the problem and get them on the right track. So we do have some customers that they subscribe to Shield Advanced, and that's why they subscribe, just for that feature alone. So it's definitely worth calling out right away. But some of the detail on the additional features of Shield Advanced starts with adaptive L3 and L4 protection. So it starts to learn our customer's specific application bandwidth and flow, and it can adapt from what it learns. In the baseline, it learns from the traffic. So once we do that, there are things that we do behind the scenes to kind of help throttle. If we're seeing something out of the baseline, we can stop the additional bad IPs or the bad actors that we're seeing for a set amount of time, and then let that back in. If we see it again, we can bounce around and have a custom way of providing that protection. And then because Shield Advanced also provides Layer 7 with our AWS WAF, we can pull in the L7 anomaly detection as well. So when we couple those together, we can really make a better decision and reduce false positives to say, okay, for this application, it's out of that it's out of that baseline. This is an anomaly, so we can couple those together and help either block that or create an alert to our customers. And then 2 services worth calling out that we've launched in the last, I'd say, year. I'll start with the Route 53 health-based detection. So what we wanted to do, and we always want to be in tune to providing the best service possible while also reducing false positives. That's always the game and the approach here in security. So with our health-based detection, or Route 53 health-based detection, we also look at the health of the application that we're protecting. So if we do see something outside of the baseline for that application, but the application is still healthy, because that's what we're seeing from the Route 53 health check, then maybe we can send an event out, but we won't call your team and at 2 or 3 in the morning and say, hey, we have a problem, there's an event, we need to solve this. Versus maybe there is a little anomaly and we can see from the Route 53 health check that there's a problem with the application, it's down, or it's not meeting the SLA that you prefer, then we know, and we can reach out to your team, which ties into the second feature, which is the proactive event response. So now we have the ability for our customers to insert into our console who we should contact if we see an anomaly, if we get an alert, or if we see maybe an application that is down or is suffering from our Route 53 health check. We will proactively reach out to your team. And then in doing so, our Shield response team has access to the logs, and most of the time they're looking at that and they're coming up with a response to that event. So, for example, it might be, hey, these IPs are causing this event. Let's go ahead and add these IPs to your IP table within your AWS WAF, and then that solves the problem. So that's how it all comes together. And then finally, as I had mentioned, our Shield Advanced package includes AWS WAF and Firewall Manager at no additional cost. Now, I will call out that with AWS WAF, it's at no additional cost when you're protecting that resource with Shield Advanced as well. So, for example, if you're protecting a application behind a load balancer, when you have Shield Advanced and WAF protecting that load balancer, WAF is at no additional cost. And then, of course, Firewall Manager, all the policies that you create within the regions are no additional cost as well when subscribed to Shield Advanced. And also, we have a cost protecting for scaling. So, and what that means is if you're using Shield Advanced and if you have all the best recommendations and the features turned on, and you experience a volumetric DDoS event and it scales out your resources, we can cover the cost of scaling out those resources when an event is detected. Moving over to our Layer 7 protection with AWS WAF. For most of you that use WAF already know that a few years ago we revamped our WAF from our old WAF, which is now called WAF Classic in your UI, to what we called internally WAF v2, which is now just AWS WAF. So there were a lot of really good features we'd launched in that update. Starting with our managed rules. So we heard from customers, when we built AWS WAF, we really built it for builders, right? And there was a lot of custom stuff that was needed. We didn't have our own managed rules. So our customers said, hey, we like that, but we really expect more and we want more from a managed rules perspective. So we built those managed rules, and we have those managed rules within our new WAF. So, for example, we talked about OWASP Top 10 earlier in this presentation. So we have a managed rule to help protect against OWASP Top 10 recommended protections. We have some for anonymous IPs, and so we have quite a few managed rules that you can choose from. Now, the benefit here is we curate and manage those rules behind the scenes, and all you have to do is turn that on in AWS WAF and apply it to whatever resources you're protecting. There is also some customization that our customers can use when we talk about geolocation and specific applications that might need more focus and more rules outside of the AMRs, our managed rules. We just recently launched our new bot control within WAF, and I'll cover that in more detail on the next slide. And then we've always had our partner managed rules. So even before we built some of our own managed rules, we've always had our partner managed rules, which the likes of F5, Checkpoint, and others, where we allow our customers to use their rules on our WAF within the same web ACL as the other custom rules that the customer may need. So it gives our customer the flexibility and that layered approach to security if they so choose. Going back to one of the main themes, which is seamless integration with the resources that your team is probably already using to build applications in the AWS cloud, like Amazon CloudFront, our application load balancer, our Amazon API gateway, and we've also recently included the service on AppSync as well. As I discussed, we just launched our AWS WAF bot control. So definitely want to call it out to give some visibility to it, but we heard loud and clear from our customers that bots are becoming more of an issue every day, and we really needed to create something in the space. So this is our first iteration of that. It is the equivalent of a AWS managed rule within WAF. And really this first iteration focuses on some of those common and persistent bots. And so we provide a bot category that helps you take a look at, gives you more detail on what some of the bots that are coming in, what is the breakout of those bots? Because we do have some customers that some of the bots that some customers may deem as bad, some deem as good. So we want to give you the flexibility to say, okay, we definitely, you can pick and choose if you want which bots you want to let in, and of course, which bots you do not want to let in. And all this is done very easily within our bot control AMR in our new WAF. So this is not available in WAF Classic. It is available in WAF. And the most important call out here is for all of those customers that are using WAF already, you can go into your console and get a feel for what percentage of the traffic going through that WAF is bot traffic. And so a little spoiler alert, when we initially did this study internally, the average was 65% of the traffic going through the WAF was from bots. So you have free samples if you're using bot or you're using WAF already. So we advise that you go out and look at that. They'll give you some good detail, and then at that point, you can decide if you want to add that bot AMR to your web ACL. So those are the services, and again, hopefully the takeaway is they seamless integration into the resources that you're using in our cloud, managed centrally with Firewall Manager, in a way that helps you scale and really focus on your business. Now I'll transition to some of the commonly used web architectures with these services. And here, the four main ones are just protecting web applications in general. Also latency-specific applications. We see this with our gaming customers. Protecting serverless applications. And then finally, one that is popping up quite a bit now, which is protecting on-premise applications as well. Starting with protecting web applications, this is a common layout that we see with our customers where our customers will add WAF and CloudFront on WAF and Shield Advanced on the CloudFront resource. And then as the traffic goes through the CloudFront resource, it then can go to the ALB, depending if how you've built out your layout, or it can go to the S3 bucket. So you have a lot of flexibility here, and that's what we, going back to the main themes, right? We want to give you flexibility. We want to allow you to scale. So some customers may just go directly to the load balancer and then we can put WAF and Shield Advanced on the load balancer itself. Or again, some customers want to run it through CloudFront first and then through an ALB, or CloudFront directly to the S3 bucket. So this is the most common architecture, and I should have added it starts at Route 53, which is our DNS service, and Shield Advanced is protecting our Route 53 automatically. So there's no configuration needed there. So most common is this layout. But for our customers that are protecting latency sensitive applications, it's different in the sense that we have a newer acceleration service called Global Accelerator, and we now have the ability to put Shield Advanced on Global Accelerator. So that's a seamless integration. So when customers have a latency sensitive application, and we see this a lot in gaming, they will use Global Accelerator and add the Shield Advanced protection to Global Accelerator, and then bring that in, whether it's to an EIP or directly to the resource. So, and again, what you're going to see here is you still have some flexibility. So you can run some of the traffic through Global Accelerator, which is protected by Shield Advanced, or you can go direct into the network load balancer and then have Shield Advanced on the EIP as well. Another layout is for serverless applications. And really what you see here is API gateway thrown into the mix. And so just as the other ones, we can start with DNS, Route 53. Then we can run the traffic through CloudFront, which we can have WAF and Shield Advanced on CloudFront, then send it to the API gateway. Or again, with the flexibility, our customers can go directly to the API gateway, and where we will have WAF on that API gateway. Now, a call out here is if our customers go directly to the API gateway, we do not have the ability to put Shield Advanced on the API gateway. Hence, you'll see the flexibility, and we advise that to run that through CloudFront, then to the API gateway. So you can have both Shield Advanced and WAF on those resources. And finally, protecting on-premise applications. Now, we've seen this a lot from customers as of lately, and really what this helps is, I guess, a few different use cases. But if our customers can't, they're looking to scale, definitely when it comes to DDoS. So sometimes when our customers experience large DDoS events, just by having our resources in the cloud helps that scale and helps mitigate that event in and of itself. So we've had a lot of customers say, well, hey, can we just take maybe specific applications that are in our data center and run that through your edge resources before sending it to our application in our data center? And the answer is absolutely. So what that looks like is you're seeing here on the slide, we're setting up essentially an edge services VPC, which you'll have Route 53, we'll have WAF, and Shield Advanced on CloudFront. And then from there, you can either run that to the internet over to the data center, or again, with flexibility, we can put that through a load balancer depending on what the needs of the business are, and then run that down through whether it's TGW, whether it's a direct connect, whatever that might be between this VPC and your data center. So a lot of our customers don't realize we have this ability, but we do have the ability, and it can be used for the fear of DDoS against some online or some applications in your data center, or some customers when they're moving applications from on-prem to the cloud. This gives them the way to help them transition those applications safely into our cloud. So we're coming down home stretch, and what I now want to do is talk about the case study. And this was a gaming customer that was subscribed to Shield Advanced, but didn't have all of the features and functionality set up, or what we like to kind of call best practices. And they started experiencing an event which started bringing down their application. The customer's experience was really bad. And so they reached out to our Shield response team, or SRT, for help. So what did SRT do? And remember, SRT is provided with Shield Advanced. So because they had Shield Advanced, SRT jumped in. They enabled WAF logging. And again, because WAF is included with Shield Advanced, they were able to do that at no additional cost. They enabled logging to identify a little north of 4,000 IPs that were causing the problem. They added those IPs to the block list on the WAF, and then created some additional WAF rules to block requests with no cookie header. So the outcome of this, and I'll show this in a few different slides. So if you look here, you can see before the event, a lot of requests coming in, spiky requests causing the problem. So when SRT implemented the IP list rule, you can see at the end of this where the arrow is, the problem with requests goes away. Another view at this is the 5x errors. Again, as the event was happening, not good, bad experience. And when SRT finally helped our customer put the fix in place, it goes to virtually zero. And then also, and finally, looking at requests that are blocked and allowed. So you can see here the spikes in both blocked and allowed as the event was happening. And then as our SRT put the protection in place, you can see a little more block requests as we were learning more on the event. And then it virtually goes away. And so now you have allowed requests even out along with blocked requests. So with that, in summary, hopefully the takeaway here is going back to the themes, right? We want to help our customers scale by implementing application security within the resources that they're already using in our cloud. And we try to help you do that at scale, centrally, and help you scale up and scale down as the needs of your business changed. So I want to thank you for watching this session. And I do want to call out, as you know, we have a lot of services here at AWS. We have a lot of security services. So make sure you jump in and get your 25 free digital credit for courses to find out more. Maybe it's on Security Hub. Maybe it's just on any other services that help with application protection. So definitely go check that out. And again, I want to thank you for your time and have a great day. And actually, finally, before I forget, please be sure to jump in and fill out the survey. Let us know what we're doing well, maybe what we can add, maybe what we can take out. But your feedback is definitely greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.